Have you ever looked at the German language and just felt lost? Like you have no idea where to even begin? Well, today we are going to demystify that whole process. We're not just throwing words at you, we are laying out the complete step-by-step roadmap.
So think of this less like a dry lesson and more like a map. We're going to trace the exact path from your very first hello all the way to a real back and forth conversation. And you know what? It's probably a lot more straightforward than you think. Ready to take that first step?
Every big journey has to start somewhere, right? For learning German, that first step is super simple. Just learning how to say hello. Seriously, it's the key that unlocks pretty much every single interaction you're going to have. Right off the bat, German gives you a cool little choice depending on who you're talking to. If it's a friend, something casual, hello and tschüss are your go-tos. But in a more formal setting like an office or a store, Guten Tag and Auf Wiedersehen show a nice layer of respect. Getting this little distinction down is one of the first and honestly most useful things you can learn.
Okay, so you've said hello. What's the natural next step? You introduce yourself. This is how you go from just saying random words to actually creating an identity for yourself in German. All right, get ready for your first linguistic superpower, the verb sein, which just means to be. This is one of the absolute most fundamental building blocks of the entire language. See how it changes? Ich bin for I am, du bist for you are. Trust me, getting the hang of this one verb is the key to unlocking tons of basic sentences. So let's put that superpower to work, shall we? We'll start with that core piece we just learned. Ich bin, which means I am. Simple enough. Now let's see what we can add to it. You just add a name. Ich bin Alex. And boom! There you have it. That's a complete thought, a complete sentence. You've introduced yourself. Pretty easy, right? But we can definitely add a little more detail. And here is the payoff. Ich bin 31 Jahre alt. You've now taken ich bin and combined it with numbers to share a key fact about yourself. All of a sudden, you've created a much richer, more descriptive sentence. You know, that brings up a good point. To talk about your age, or phone numbers, or even just count things you see, you need a solid foundation. So, what are the very first numbers you're going to pick up on this journey? Here is your essential toolkit, the numbers from 0 all the way to 10. Learning the words for these, like eins, zwei, drei, is just the bedrock. Once you have these down, you're going to be surprised how many doors they open in everyday conversation. Okay, so with an identity and some numbers under your belt, the next logical step is to start describing the world around you. We're moving from just talking about me to talking about my world. You know, your family, your home. You know, words like these really make the language feel personal. Meine Mutter, meinen Vater. You're not just learning abstract vocabulary anymore, you're learning how to talk about the people who matter most to you. It's a really big step in making German feel like your language. And from people, we can move to places. Check out this sentence. Mein Haus ist klein und alt. My house is small and old. See that? We're using that verb sein again, ist, but this time we're adding simple adjectives to paint a picture of our home. You're actually starting to describe things. Okay, deep breath. Let's talk about grammar. But wait, don't worry, we are not going to get lost in some dusty textbook. Just think of grammar as the logical system that holds the whole language together. It's like the simple rules of the road that once you see them, make everything click. All right, let's tackle one of German's most well-known features, noun gender. So in German, every single noun, a table, a car, a book, is considered either masculine, feminine, or neuter. It might sound a little weird at first, but it's a core concept that directly changes small but really important words, like the word for the. And this chart here shows you exactly what that means in practice. The word for the literally changes based on the noun's gender. It's der for masculine nouns, die for feminine ones, and das for neuter ones. Once you get the hang of this pattern, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Now for one simple, totally predictable tweak to that rule. The word for the can change, but it only happens for masculine nouns and only when they are the object of the sentence. That just means something is happening to them. Let me show you what I mean. Look at this example. When the dog is just hanging out, being the subject, it's der Hund ist hier. But when you see the dog, now something's happening to it, there flips to den. Ich sehe den Hund. That tiny little change signals the dog is now the object. And the best part? This only happens to masculine nouns, which makes this rule so much easier to remember.
So we've learned some greetings, we know how to introduce ourselves, we've dipped our toes into grammar, and we have some descriptive words. What happens when we put all those pieces together? We get the grand prize, an actual conversation. And look, it starts just like we did at the very beginning. A nice formal greeting, Guten Tag, an introduction using our new friend Ich bin, and then a question to pass the baton. Und du? And you? The reply is just as simple, a friendly, casual Hallo, and the exact same introduction structure we just learned. Ich bin Alex. See that? It's a perfect mirror. It's all connecting. And now the conversation gets a little deeper. Alex doesn't just stop there. He asks a classic conversational question, wie geht's? It's basically the German way of saying, how's it going? Or how are you? And Sarah's response just brings it all home. Mir geht's gut. I'm doing well. She answers his question, and then, this is so important, she asks it right back. Und dir? This is the real rhythm of a conversation. It's a successful, complete interaction, and it was built from all those simple blocks we just talked about. And there you have it, the whole journey all mapped out, from a single hello all the way to a full exchange. We've shown you the path and the simple logic that connects every step. So now the only question left is, what will you say first?